Mm. Hi, I am Michael Bean. I'm an acting teacher, and this is your free lesson for myfreeactingclass.com. We missed Tuesday's self-tape review, so today's going to be self-tape review. We're going to be talking about how to set up properly for a good self-tape and using the self-tapes that y'all submitted as examples. A reminder for anybody watching that please send me a self-tape any week, anything, even just a couple of lines for practice. There's a practice exercise on the website, myfreeactingclass.com. Send me your self-tape and I will review it and send notes. And if I don't have time to send those notes in a lesson because there's too many self-tapes, then I will email you notes because I love getting self-tapes and I want to support you as best I can. Christina and Candy for the first time recorded a self-tape together, which I thought was pretty cool. So we're going to see that. But let me show you the evolution of a self-tape. And if y'all leave your video on, I'm going to assume that this means that I can use you as a demo. So right now, this is what's called a medium close-up. If I have to tip up a little bit, which means I get reflection from the window. So the top of my head to just below my armpits. The reason I'm slumped down into this medium shot is so that y'all don't get blinded by the reflection from the window, but we want as a medium close up. Right now I have a light reflected in my eyeballs, eye light. Let me use Duke as an example. Replace the spotlight. Here it is. So Duke is in a medium close-up right now. He's got a nice neutral background. His background is much better than mine today. He doesn't have much eye light, you can see, but his framing is just right. Probably he just didn't plug in his studio lights because he's just taking a class. He's not recording something right now. The Now for eye line, which is the imaginary line between your eye and what you're looking at, we'll use Christina. Christina, you can see, has neutral background, fantastic eye light. So you're like, why does she look so pretty? And it's the lighting. I mean, like, it's also you, Christina, but like, really, it's also the lighting. Look directly at the camera on your device. So that's Christina looking directly at the audience, and it's kind of weird, And so now look back where you were looking before, which I assume is my teeny picture. There you go. So the eye line is close to camera, but not directly at the camera, which is what you want for your self-tapes. Thanks for being our demo, Christina. Come back to me, and then we're going to look at Candy's self-tapes. So here we go. This is January. So this was Candy set up in January. It looks like she's sort of like strung up a tarp or piece of fabric. She's getting some like reflection off the fabric. Right, there's this big bright spot. There's a little bit of eye light, but mostly, if you can see, her light is coming from above. She's got this big shadow under her chin. She is in a medium close-up. So medium close-up, rock on. Lighting is an evolving process. That was Candy in January, and she keeps showing up for lessons and keeps tweaking her setup. And so then we get to February. This is Candy in February. So a nice neutral wall, I think, is basically that's what Christina's got. It means that then you don't ever have to worry about wrinkles. Yes, maybe the color isn't like ideal in your wall at home, but I really don't think it matters. I think that that a neutral wall is the best way to go. So we've got now we've got some eye light. We've just got this like big bright spot in the corner. She's a little bit far back, but I think she comes up closer. No, okay, so maybe a little too far back. We'd want to like her to zoom in or kind of go into that medium close up, where it's just top of the head to just below the armpits, because then we'd see more of her eyeballs. Her eye line, or the line between her eyes and what she's looking at, is just off to one side of the camera, so that's great. And you can see the lighting. This side of her face is dark. This side of her face is light. She's got this big shadow under here. Now, oh my God, watch what happens when she adds a professional lighting instrument, which I hopefully you got a great deal on the ring light that you got, Candy. A ring light is really like absolutely at this point, if you're doing self-tapes, professional self-tapes, you should invest in one, especially because they are cheap. Like the inexpensive ones are like $30 on Amazon. And yeah, they're not adjustable. Like if you want a fancy one, sure, maybe it's like 3 times that, 4 times that, and then it's got like a big tripod and it's giant, and you could, but like the one that's this size, you just put it on a stack of boxes and point it at your face, like you're fine. Like but a ring light's a great investment. So this is Candy from this tape right now. Oh! Isn't this amazing? Like, it's just like, wow, this person is just so attractive. And it's like, all right, it's lighting. And so I use this as like a perfect concrete example, of the way that having lighting and a clean backdrop, and combined with this medium close up, boom, suddenly makes it so that the person is experienced as like a better actor. They're feeling more. They are more attractive. And it's literally just technical trickery. So I cannot encourage you enough, to just like figure this stuff out, because right now, because at the beginning of the pandemic, when self tapes were still like, nah, casting directors were coming in and saying, oh yeah, 90% of self tapes are junk. I haven't had somebody report like a number recently, but I'm sure that everybody's upping their self tape game, partly because, and let me open this for you. So this is from an audition that I have with Jackie Lind that I have to tape for tomorrow. Jackie Lind is a Vancouver casting director. If you wanted to hear Jackie talking a bunch about acting, then you could go on and into the video archive at myfreeactingclass.com and click on her video. Actually, I think it's the first one. Let's find out. Um, and so uh, the myfreeactingclass.com has been updated very recently with a video archive. And yes, indeed, if you go to myfreeactingclass.com, you scroll down, you're like, aha, I'm going to click on this video archive. If you were to scroll down once we get to this, you would find casting director Jackie Lind, self-tape auditions are the future. And she talks about lighting. So does Tiffany Mack. Talks very specifically about lighting. For obvious reasons. Hopefully, now that you've seen Candy's tape, you're like, now I get it. Like having the idea was one thing, but seeing it for real, whoa. So here is what Jackie is sending out with, assume, all of her auditions right now. So slate, must include a slate, blah, 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 details of slate. Takes, please send one take of each scene. Camera, as high as quality as possible. If you're shooting on your phone, be sure to shoot horizontally and not vertically. Ensure that you're framed from the chest up, facing towards camera, right? Chest up, medium close up, not belly button up, not waist up, chest up. Background, please have a neutral background with no furniture or decorations in frame. A solid blue or gray background is preferred, not a deal breaker. You must use a sheet. Please ensure it is wrinkle free, right? So the backgrounds are so distracting that even wrinkles bother them, and having seen a bunch of self tapes and a bunch of students, I get it. Like when I'm taping at this point, like I also have a stretchy backdrop, but it's almost impossible to get like all the wrinkles out. And so I've just started using a neutral wall. Like I said, I'm not today because I wanted to come and start teaching right away, and I had a session that was running late. But I'll show you my neutral backdrop next class. Lighting, studio lights are preferred. Now, studio lights, sounds like it's something really fancy, but truly what we're talking about is a $30 ring light that you buy on Amazon or basically anywhere else. They're LEDs, they're practically indestructible, like they're inexpensive, like just hook it up if you can. But natural light from windows and or ring lights can provide soft, even lighting. Please avoid harsh lighting and large shadows from lamps. No echoes, static, or distracting background noise. Ensure your reader is not louder than you are, right? So I've been saying this in lessons over and over again. You see how important it is. They're putting it in their instructions, and then they're saying like, read these instructions. I think they said, yes, because this project will be cast exclusively from self-tape, we have some specific requests to ensure all tapes are as professional as possible while being done safely at home. Please read carefully. So I would be very interested to talk to Jackie now and say like, okay, now that you're spelling it out super clearly and people have been self-taping for a year, how many people do this and how many tapes are still junk? I would say that I'll bet it's above half right now. But still, my guess is that if you really like tweak this stuff and get it down, you're still in the like top half. Reader, we strongly request a reader as a fellow actor, label, title cards, blah, 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 blah. So you can see that they're just going over the same setup stuff that I am, but just maybe in like a little bit less detail. Now, we have one self-tape to review for today, and that is Christina and Candy's tape. Looks like Candy might be somewhere where she can't turn on her video today, but Christina, how do you feel about, after we watch your self-tape, if there's something that I want to play with, doing a little demo with me? Okay, so that I can show you some of the ways that I might like sort of tweak or coach that self tape. Something that came up with Claudine a number of weeks ago, is that you know like no self tape is going to be perfect, and I just want to remind you of that before I start talking about Christina's self tape. I'm assuming that y'all have sent the self tapes not just so I can validate you and be like you're amazing, but also so I can say like I don't know, here's a couple of things that you could try and that might make it better. Oh, this is somewhat unconnected, but around this, like you're amazing. The last time that I covered, I taught my own classes, and I also covered a couple of classes last weekend. And my invitation, especially the classes that I hadn't taught before, was, "Hey, I want to think you're amazing. Like, let's practice, imagining that I am uh, the decision maker, that I'm, the casting director, or the director, the producer. I want to think you're amazing. And of course you are full of nerves and excitement. And so one really normal way to deal with nerves is in life, I think, is to qualify. It's say, oh, like I'm not as prepared as I want to be. It's not as good as I'd like it to be. And what you're essentially doing is getting other people to lower their expectations to manage your own fear of judgment. And the problem with doing that in a professional situation or an acting situation is that if you do that, if you say, hey, I'm sorry, but, or like any version of please lower your expectations so that I don't have to feel nervous, the risk is that they'll believe you. That what you're essentially saying is like, I'm not awesome, and that the risk is they'll believe you. So this, when I was teaching this weekend, I was like, hey, I want to think you're amazing. Just try to not tell me you're not, okay? Like, can we just accept the fact that you could be an amazing person who's doing amazing acting, who's also nervous, without you like going like, I'm nervous, it must mean it's wrong. I'm not amazing. And it's a practice. It's a practice to be like, right, I'm an amazing person. I'm doing the best acting I can here. I am also nervous or excited. That does not invalidate either of those first two things. Like it often feels like it does or should, and it's really worth practicing. So I don't know, Madison, you've got your mom, so you can probably just be like, you can get her to be like, you're amazing, and you can be like, okay, thank you. But if you've got somebody in your life who can practice this with you, who can just like tell you you're amazing, and you can, especially when you feel nervous, and you can just practice looking them in the eyes and saying thank you, and that's not a lie. You're not saying, yeah, I know, right? I don't want you to lie about feeling amazing if you don't feel amazing. I just want you to let the other person have their experience so that they can hire you and put you in their movie. And like let's say Madison goes in, let's say hi, Madison. Let's say Madison goes in. Hello, Madison. I've spotlit you for everyone. Let's say Madison goes into an audition, and that little shy thing that she did a second ago, like that's how she feels on the inside in the audition. But everybody's like, "Whoa, Madison, you were so amazing." They look at her in the eyes and say, "Like you're so talented." Like that was so amazing. Then Madison, your job is to look them right in the eyes and say,
Oh,
"Thank you."
thank you.
You just say
Thank you.
thank you. That's it. That's your only job, right? Like you don't have to agree with them. You don't have to do anything. And then after that, you walk out, you see your mom, and you're like, "Oh my God, it's a mess. I feel all the feels." Blah. But you say that to your mom, and in the room, to the decision makers, you just look them in the eyes and say, "Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. Wow, like that really feels good." Uh, do you see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
so you don't lie. You just let them have their experience, and you don't try and convince them you're less amazing in order to make you feel less nervous. And it's a weird thing for people to tolerate here. And I don't know, like Candy's from the US, and so maybe Candy's like, oh no, I'm used to people thinking I'm amazing. I'm fine with it. Maybe it's like it's just mostly a Canadian thing where Canadians are like, I don't know. Is if people think I'm amazing, maybe they'll think I'm full of myself, and then I'll like, and I have like that's socially wrong. Which like, I don't know, I definitely am carrying some of that. So like, so I'm asking at least the Canadians or the like, sort of extra empathic people, listening to this lesson to like break a social rule by allowing other people to think they're amazing. But like, can you just see how professionally useful that is? Anyway, that's my little rant. Sorry, I just like it's on my mind, and so taking a little deviation, coming back to Candy and Christina's self tape. Here we go. Oh! Uh, and Candy and Christina, if you ever choose to do this again, where you are doing a self tape, and in fact, because I didn't get both a Tuesday and a Wednesday lesson, in fact, if you even want to work the same one next week and take these notes, what I would really love is to see a tape just of Christina, like pin Christina, and then tape just of Candy and pin Candy, because the reactions, the listening, are some of the hardest parts of a self tape, and because of this format where it's bouncing back and forth between you and only you're talking, I'm not seeing any of the reactions, so I'm missing half or more of the acting in watching the self tape. I can still talk about it, but I would love to see sort of all of it. So here we go. For anybody who hasn't watched the lesson from Wednesday of last week, we broke down the script in detail. And in that lesson, you'll hear me say, the project was called this when they were auditioning. Somebody could probably like sleuth it out if you were really, sneaky about looking it up online. And Candy did. It turns out the project was called Beneath. And she found details about it online. Props to Candy for doing extra research. So here we go.
Why do we celebrate them dying?
We're not celebrating, we're honoring them. It's our responsibility.
Mom and Dad don't even know we're doing it. Happy birthday.
You too.
Now, Christina, just so I know, did you just completely forget your line there, or was that an incredibly long pause?
No, Candy was like praying, but because you can see it on the on her video, like she was doing this and then I was just waiting for her to
Ah,
finish praying, jump to the next.
and so because it stayed on you, and this
So
is what so this is a perfect example of the reactions are important. Like if we're watching a self tape of yours, like then you're going to need to do something while she's praying. Like you are going to need to show us the acting, even in the spots where you don't have action. So Candy's praying, what are you doing? Because all you were doing was really waiting for Candy to be done. And while that is an absolutely normal human thing to do, it's not an interesting story to watch, and so you don't want to show that to an audience in a self tape. Right? So you would have needed to make a choice like, that's where you get out your phone and check your text messages, or that's where you like look at the praying and look down at the grave, and oh man, you'd like, right, just to break up the eye line, to give yourself some kind of physical behavior that's not like here's how I feel, but like here's what I'm doing while my sister is praying. And ideally behavior that tells us the story of what you're feeling, so that you don't have to with your face go like like here's how I'm feeling. Okay, back to the self tape.
I didn't get.
So Candy hands her something and hands it off camera. Christina chose to have a prop, and have it ready to go. You both are totally valid. What a fantastic opportunity to see both, right? Like so. You can see that if this was a cut that happened in the TV show, then it could look completely like Candy has handed Christina this little pink box, even though I suspect Candy had nothing in her hand at all.
Anything.
That's not shocking. Open it.
But this is yours.
And Christina, I would say that right now, like you showed us the box, and you wanted that in the tape, great. But right now, you're keeping it in the frame, and I don't think it's necessary because the scene's not really about the box. Especially if you've shown it to us, you can open it off camera, and we, because we're more interested in watching your face, So just it's not a it's actually not a big deal either way, but just so that I would say take the pressure off of yourself to like show your props, because it's not really about the props. Like the props only add in as much as they help the audience get the story.
Mom gave it to me when I was 14, and I'm giving it to you.
Let me have the keys.
Yeah, right.
Dad let you drive when you were my age.
If we get pulled over by the cops, I'm telling them you kidnapped me.
Yes.
Good. And instead of just the happy dance, especially if you've got keys there, Christina, what would be great was like would be the yes, and then like, oh, and then like head off towards the car and cut it before you leave camera. That would be my
What the Zoom does, it cuts off the sound. So I did do yes, but like it cut off.
I know it, and I heard that part. What I'm saying is that like instead of just happy dancing for 15 seconds, or like I know that, and so this is one of the reasons why I thought it would be such a good stretch for you to do scenes. Is that in the one line exercises you've been experimenting with like these massive amounts of time before and after the line. And I wanted to reflect back to you that that's useful as an exercise, but you cannot do that in storytelling unless all of that time is full of something that moves the story forward. So like 4 seconds of happy dancing, great. 10 seconds of happy dancing, it's just too much. Then it starts to look like the actor is doing it because it's not connected out to the person, it's not connected to the story, it's literally just you showing us how you feel. So that's what I mean about like yes, and then like like look at Candy like gonna drive you somewhere, something, right? Like have the last reaction to be to Candy, whatever it is my suggestion. Now are the two of you willing to do like another take of this for next week? Yeah, great. Oh, good. I would love that. And so, Christina, my challenge to you would be, what else is going on besides the character being sad? Because I know that that you really love playing sad, when you're doing lines. And so, I would say, I would honestly want to take that away from you, because at the beginning, I just saw an actor who was like self-consciously loving being sad. The right, like I don't think that you're telling the story well at the beginning. I think that you're leaning into how good it feels to feel. That's just the story I'm making out of it as an acting teacher. Like yes, I've been an acting teacher for a long time. That it's possible that's not what you're doing at all. But I don't think this is a scene about sad. I think this is a scene about how you are affecting, making the other person feel. Right. So back to that question of objective. And if you've forgotten some of the stuff, then you can go back and look at last Wednesday's lesson. But we brainstormed some ideas of like, how do you want your sister to feel? What are you doing to her? What is that objective phrase? So that's where I think that would be useful. And we can workshop the first line before we're done. So I would say just keep tying it back to the sister. And Candy, man, that was like the most relaxed, honest, like connected work that I have seen you do in any of your self tapes so far. And I'm sure it helped, like having an actor and a familiar actor to read with, but I just really felt that relationship. And so for your take, next week I would say, now mess around, like now explore it a little bit and play with, like, can you give it a little bit more arc, like can you give it a little bit more change from beginning to end, for instance. Because at the right, can you really find the gravity of the scene at the beginning, and then let us move to that place of ease that you had at the end of the scene, right? So that would be probably my first impulse if we were taping it, is I would say, like, this moment at the gravesite, is really personally deeply significant for you. Can you bring like a real gravity to that, and still find honesty with it, because that's hard. And maybe you can't do it completely, but I would love to see you try. Because the ease was so present in this take, that getting there, by the end of the scene, I have total confidence in, because you can always, it seemed like you were really connected to the relationship with Christina. And that makes sense, Christina, because like, what, Candy's like a full decade and change older than you, so just remember that she's had an extra 10 years of practice. Like the right, and and maybe, she hasn't had like 10 solid years of practice acting, but like, there's more practice there. It makes perfect sense to me, that Candy's take was cleaner on the first scene, and that you were like, ooh, something new. Yeah, here's what I'm feeling. And so I just wanted to do that like reminder that I think I need as an actor sometimes too, is just like keep coming back, to Candy if you possibly can. Uh, oh, hello. That's
I did want to say,
Oh, I'm so sorry, Candy. I don't know if you're breaking up or if I am, but like I can't hear anything you're saying. So you might have to type
I
it.
could hear you for a second. Darn it. I just wanted to say harder. Okay.
Oh, okay, I can hear you now. Let's try again. What were you trying to say there? Okay,
Okay. So can you hear me now?
we can, yeah.
Okay, sorry, Tech. I'm in the car. So I was gonna say I like looking back, I'm like, I think parts of Christina, what she was working on was like technically harder than mine because there was um because the camera didn't switch. And so we were trying to figure out how do we work with this. And thank you for the feedback. That's really helpful, and it'll be cool to work on it with you again, Christina. It was super fun, and I was actually like super nervous and stuff. So I'm glad it translated differently.
It did, and I think that that's actually that's a great sort of addition to the conversation. Is that in terms of the emotional arc that you each challenged yourself with, Christina picked one that was more challenging. And so and you picked this like I'm just going to focus on honesty for my first pass and connect with my sister. Whereas Christina was like all the feels all at once, like the
Yeah.
yeah, the and so maybe you sort of like meet in the middle, where we're gonna challenge Candy to like do more of the feels, even if it like isn't, doesn't quite land, and we're gonna challenge Christina to like trust the feels are there, and connect with you a little bit more.
Cool. Thank
Okay,
you.
and I can't believe how fast half an hour flies by. Um, Madison, Allison, Duke, Claudine, Janiqua, well, hi Janiqua, nice to see you. The lesson starts at 4 p.m. The Pacific Standard Time, and so you signed on just at the very end of the lesson. I'm sorry, we're just about to sign off, but we'll be back next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The any questions from the rest of you before we sign off today? Yeah, Duke, please.
If you couldn't find a reader, have you ever dubbed yourself in as the reader? Because
I have,
I did that this week.
but casting will often say directly in their notes, please do not. Like and you saw you saw in the Jackie Lind one that I showed you with, please have another reader. I think that that for myself personally, I've been using a website called weaudition.com. It's like it costs you $10 a month to sign up. There are just readers on there like anytime, day or night. Like I've been on there. I signed on at 2 a.m. once, and there were readers, there and available. People will like read for free or for tips, and it's a way around having to like call an actor friend and like coordinate schedules. Just like when I'm ready to tape it, I can just go on there and be like, click. Oh my God, it's so great. And yeah, some of the readers suck, but I just turn their volume down, and as long as I have another human to look at it and say the lines with, the timing is so much more alive than a self tape, or than self record. Now that said, like have I recorded my lines, on my phone and done it with my before? Yes, I have. Will I probably need to again? Probably so, because you just don't always have Wi-Fi and you don't always have technology. And you know what? Like if you do all the work to put together a self tape for them, like if what you're doing is alive and interesting, and you're having fun with it, then they can always ask you to do it again, right? Like and that's my take on that. Like get a human to read with if you possibly can, and if you can't, well, then you just trust that that if they like what they're seeing, then they'll ask for more. More questions? Okay. Well, we'll be back on Monday. We'll see Christina and Candy's second take of the scene on Tuesday, hopefully. And then if I don't have a guest lined up for Wednesday, then I'll do. Then we'll review another short script. And Duke, this time I'll make sure that I find something with a guy in it, so that. We're doing a breakdown of the script on Wednesday and setting everybody up with something that they can play with for the self-tape review for the following Tuesday. And Madison, if you're keen, then I will make sure to find like a short script that's got a little kid in it too, or a young person who's not a little kid, because obviously you're clearly not a little kid. Oh God, anything I say now will be wrong. Anyway, yes.
Is it Madison or Allison?
Allison's the mom.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Madison was just
Nice to meet you both. Thank you.
Madison was taking classes at my school, and and I think it's continuing for April. So, all right, everybody. I'm signing off. Janiqua, we have to part so soon. It's nice to see you for a minute. And I hope you all have a fabulous Easter weekend. I don't know if Leanne is running class on Monday. But let's assume yes, unless we hear otherwise. If she decides not to run class on Monday, then I will go on to the myfreeactingclass.com website and put no class, Easter Monday. So I'll update the website after I've talked to Leanne. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Bye.